edition of your breakfast show on television, Inside Nigeria. It's a breakfast show on leadership television where we review and discuss front headline stories on some select newspapers, including your darling Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership. My name is Winifred Ugbebo, your host on the program. As usual on the program, we like to flag off with Nigeria's most influential newspaper, and that is Leadership. Let's see what Leadership is leading with this Tuesday, November 7, 2023. Leadership says, amid cash crunch, federal government asks varsities orders to remit 40% revenue. Amid cash crunch, federal government asks varsities orders to remit 40% revenue. Students lecturers kick say deduction dangerous to system. Schools decline comment on IGR. We'll take that leading story once again. Amid cash crunch, federal government asks varsities orders to remit 40% revenue. Students lecturers kick say deduction dangerous to system. Schools decline comment on IGR. And underneath that, we have the picture story on the cover of Leadership, where we have Nigerian Army conducting show of force in quote ahead of Kogi governorship election in Lokoja yesterday. Beside this, we have court affirms authenticity of Governor Mba's NYSC certificate. Federal government allays fears over US travel advisory. EFCC to produce a Mayfield in court November 8. Jay's Bank declares 73% profit before tax growth in 9 months. Presidency Obi on war path over Supreme Court judgment. This story continues on page 7 of Leadership. Since manufacturing firms post 166.3 billion naira losses in 9 months. This is a business story highlighted on the white cover or white box of Leadership. Since manufacturing firms post 166.3 billion naira losses in 9 months. And above that, the masthead of Leadership, we have terrorists kill 29 farmers, children in Bono, Katsina. Court reserves judgment in Kano governorship appeal. And with that last headline story, we move over to the page 3 of Leadership. Our stand today is on Professor Ben, exit of illegal colossus. Professor Ben, exit of illegal colossus. You have to find out more when you log on to the website of Leadership. But before that, let's go to the back page of the paper. Tuesday column with Ray Murphy, and he's saying elections are not wars. Elections are not wars. So for more headline stories, continuation of headline stories, inside stories, the editorial stand, exit of illegal closures, and the back page with Ray Murphy. Log on to the website of Leadership, www.leadership.ng. From Leadership, we move over to the trending story on prep today, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian says less than 30% of registered voters will decide Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi polls. Less than 30% of registered voters will decide Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi polls. The story continues on page 6. Meanwhile, we have a graphic illustration of the headline story underneath it. We have voter turnout. Bayelsa down by 20 points from 36.4% to 16.4%. Kogi dropped by 9 points from 33.6% to 24.6%. And of course, this is from the registered voters of 5,409,438. In Imo, we have registered voters 2,419,922. Bayelsa, we have 1,056,862. Kogi, 1,933,654 voters. And the graphic says of the registered voters in Imo, only 20% voted in February. And of course, with insecurity, low turnout may be expected. And they said no election in 38 polling units out of Imo's 4,758 over zero registration. That's the graphic illustration beneath the headline story of less than 30% of registered voters will decide Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi polls. Underneath that, we have federal government to kickstart housing slum development schemes with 100 billion naira. And court confirms authenticity of Enugu's governor's NYSC certificate. Drawbacks of dollarization of the Nigerian economy. This is the editorial on The Guardian today and continues on page 12 of the paper. Nigeria needs $7.6 billion to restore oil production to 2.1 million barrels per day by 2025. Terrorists attack Maulud procession in Katsina, kill 30, injure, kidnap others. Obi hints at recontesting in 2027, canvasses rotational 5-year single term for president. And the last and not the least on today's headline story in The Guardian says U.S. government's travel advisory hurtful to Nigerian economy, says federal government. Of course, the U.S. has issued a travel advisory to its citizens in Nigeria, warning them to stay clear from some hotels. And the federal government is replying that U.S. government's travel advisory is actually hurtful to Nigerian economy. And with that, we move over to the next paper on our menu, and that is THISDAY. THISDAY says Obi Supreme Court's affirmation of Tinubu is beginning of our quest for better Nigeria. Supreme Court affirmation of Tinubu is beginning of our quest for better Nigeria. And we have a handful of riders underneath that leading story. Says Apex Court exhibited disturbing aversion to public opinion in affirming Tinubu's election. Advocates 5-year rotational presidency. Says purchase of SUVs, yachts amid multi-dimensional poverty, gross act of insensitivity. Presidency to Obi stop casting aspersion on Supreme Court. Insists judicial pronouncements based on evidence. President rule of law. I'll take that leading story once again. Obi, Supreme Court's affirmation of Tinubu is beginning of our quest for better Nigeria. Says Apex Court exhibited disturbing aversion to public opinion in affirming Tinubu's election. Advocates 5-year rotational presidency. Says purchase of SUVs, yachts amid multi-dimensional poverty, gross act of insensitivity. Presidency to be stop casting aspersion on Supreme Court. Insists judicial pronouncements based on evidence. Precedent rule of law. Court clears Mbao certificate forgery. Lashes NYSC for fraudulent design, suppression, misrepresentation of facts. And that story continues on page 33 of THISDAY. And with that, we move to the stories just ahead of this leading story. Produce Emefiele in court or release him unconditionally. Judge restates order to EFCC. And above the masthead of THISDAY, we have Naiti report. We are working to reconcile areas of discrepancies, says NNPC. $5 billion train 7N LNG project reaches 52% completion level. Company says project now employs 8,300 persons. The cries waning feedstock availability on rising sabotage. Avuru, Nigeria needs about $7.6 billion investments to return oil production to 2.1 million barrels per day in 2 years. For the continuation of that story is you look up to page 32 of the paper. And of course, that's where we end today's review of THISDAY. For more on the paper, continuation of headline stories, the editorial, and of course the back page, log on to the website of THISDAY, www.thisdaylive.com. And from THISDAY, we have Daily Sun next on our menu, and of course Daily Sun stories today is one of sadness. Boko Haram horror in Borno, Katsina. Boko Haram horror in Borno, Katsina. Insurgents behead 13 farmers, kill 9, kidnap others in separate attacks. 1 killed, soldiers missing as government strike in Niger, bomb vehicles conveying foodstuff. I'll take that leading story once again. Boko Haram horror in Borno, Katsina. Insurgents behead 13 farmers, kill 9, kidnap others in separate attacks. 1 killed, soldiers missing as government strike in Niger, bomb vehicles conveying foodstuff. Quite unfortunate. And just beneath that, we have court declares Mba's discharge certificate not fake, awards 5 million naira against NYC. Anxiety as APEC as appeal court, reserves judgment in Kano governor's appeal. Anxiety as appeal court reserves judgment in Kano governor's appeal. SARS Kwankwaso as Kano rep declares NPP's dirty. Kalu floors PDP Labour Party ABGA at appeal court. Supporters jubilate. South Africa charged record diplomats from Israel. UN leaders demand end to Gaza war. NNPC working with Neiti, other stakeholders to reconcile 2021 report. EFCC fails to produce a Emefiele in court amid fresh order. And the second leading story on Daily Sun today, Tuesday, November 7, 2023, says Peter Obi opens up on Supreme Court judgment. The story continues on page 6 and 26 of the paper. The writer says Apex Court betrayed Nigerians' confidence in judiciary. Find better vocation instead of casting aspersions on judiciary presidency. Attack on Supreme Court exposes your arrogance, APC. Supreme Court affirms illegality of lower court. Dirty. Explosion at Canadian High Commission kills 2, injures 2 others. Explosion at Canadian High Commission kills 2, injures 2 others. The story continues on page 4 on Daily Sun. Of course, the story that broke out late night yesterday. And just before we go, the one just beside the masthead of Daily Sun says, UK warns nationals against traveling to Borno, Yobe, Adamawa orders. Says terrorist attacks likely. Advisory to hotels needless. Federal government tests embassies. For more on these headline stories, inside stories, and of course the editorial, log on to the website of Daily Sun, www.sunnynewsonline.com. From Daily Sun, The Punch is next on our menu, and the Punch headline story says, off-season polls, military police vow tough actions for ballot box snatchers orders. Off-season polls, military police vow tough actions for ballot box snatchers orders. Security chiefs warn hoodlums. 67,000 policemen for Kogi Bayelsa governorship elections. IG orders tight security at collation centers. Federal government vows transparency. Saraki demands fairness. And of course, we have picture of the soldiers show of force patrol in Kogi and Bayelsa flashpoints yesterday. Underneath the leading story, we have in Kogi and Bayelsa. Underneath that, we have Bono farmers plan resistance as terrorists kill 13. Bandits kill 9, injure 16 during Katsina Islamic procession. 2 die in Canadian embassy fire. Tinubu months. U.S. security advisory needless discourages investors, according to federal government. 4.3 trillion naira lost to oil theft in 5 years. Government. INEC delays trial of 197 electoral offenders. These are the headline stories on the Punch today's November 7, 2023, Tuesday edition of the paper. For continuation of these headline stories, inside stories, and of course, this editorial, log on to the website of the Punch, www.punchng.com. From the Punch, we move over to the last paper we have on our menu on this segment of newspaper review, and Vanguard is next. Vanguard's headline story says presidential poll, presidency APC attack Obi over stance on Supreme Court. Presidential poll, presidency APC attack Obi over stance on Supreme Court verdict. Nigeria's democracy victim of Apex Court's judgment. Obi laments courts ignored evidence of forgery, rigging. Insists this is just the beginning of struggle. States opposition to bad policies starts now. Find better job, stop attacking judiciary, presidency tells Obi. As no court gives judgment based on public opinion. APC forced Obi's haughty sense of entitlement. And of course, we have the picture underneath the leading story. Obi speaks on Supreme Court verdict. It's right there when he addressed press yesterday with his vice presidential candidate, Dati. NNPC working with Neiti, orders to reconcile 2021 report. The story continues on page 8 of Vanguard. Suspended Adamawa Rec Hudu on the run, INEC says. We have bandits Boko Haram killed 29 in Katsina, Borno. U.S. adversary can create panic effect economy. U.S. adversary can create panic affect economy, federal government says. And above the masthead, we have pension funds raise stake in federal government securities by 23% to 11.3 trillion naira. Judge restates order for unconditional release of LCBN Governor Emefiele. Matawale didn't patronize bandits, according to his media aide. Nollywood actor Mr. Ibu's leg amputated. This is the last story on the headline cover story of Vanguard today, Tuesday, November 7, 2023. And with this, we've come to the end of today's Inside Nigeria. Fortunately, we don't have a guest for the second segment of the show. So this is where we draw the program to a close. Until I come your way again, same time, same station tomorrow, I am Winifred Ugbebo signing off. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.